Today's episode is made possible through the continuing support of Andy Larkin and dozens of viewers just like you. Thank you, guys. Hi there, guys. I'm Chris Bowden. Welcome back for episode 2, where we're doing the green screen build. It's going to be cool. I'm excited. Today is one of those awesome days in a construction project where you get the very satisfying big visual change. We're going to take these bits of wood on the floor, and the top 3 are going to get screwed up to the ceiling. The bottom 3 are going to get screwed up on the floor, and then we're going to screw up the whole wall. And we're going to get on camera, and then all of you can comment and tell me the many ways in which I'm an idiot hack and should get off the internet. People who are smarter than me and better at this than I am would probably just do this in 3 sections and lay them flat on the ground and build the wall and then stand it up and put it in. There's a time and place for that. I can't do that in this situation because I'm not smart enough to do that in this situation. If you had the essential craftsman, he'd show up and he'd do it with a hammer and just be like, boom, 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 and it'd be done. He'd also use a lot of nails doing it. I don't like nails. I mentioned that in the first episode, and in this video, we're gonna get into screws a lot, and I wanted to talk about why. These are the screws I'm using, okay? Number 9 screws, 3 inches long, and every one of them has a T25 star, which I think is their version of saying Torx head. So I got my Torx driver on my big ass M18 RAR, and then I got my little toy M12 for my pilot bit. And this is a specific drill bit designed for doing pilot holes. So here's the thing about screws. Essential Craftsman, who is a god, he's amazing. I love this guy. He's been a carpenter for 40 years. He's forgotten more about wood than I'm ever gonna know. And he can drive nails all day, and he can do that accurately and repeatedly, and he's a professional carpenter. I'm not. What this does, this gives me the same joint I get with a nail, effectively, for down here, because we're using proper construction screws. And this turns, instead of, with a hammer and a nail, because I don't have the years of experience and I don't have the training and the confidence with it, when I drive a nail, it's kind of a spray and pray, it's like an Uzi. Okay, it's just, hold it on and try not to hit my hand too much. And the nail's gonna go whichever way the nail wants to go, and it might not be. And the nail I can drive pretty good, but can I hold the wood to this piece of wood and get everything square and plumb and true? What this lets me do, and the occasional use of a really big clamp, lets me position the wood exactly where I want. And this goes through the first piece of wood, a little bit the second, and it lets me aim exactly where I want that fastener to end up. And then when I send it home with the screw, this lets me put that screw exactly how deep I want. And in the end, because I'm using these tools, it takes way longer. It's a lot more work. It's a pain in the ass. It's a wall, man. I'm gonna build it one time and it's gonna be there for the next 20 years. I don't have to do this every day. This is, it's one and done. And I can make stuff that looks like this. I framed this wall, and it's square, plumb, and true all at the same time, which is pretty cool. It's more important to me because I'm an amateur, because I'm a home gamer. I'm a dude like you. And if I can do this, you can do this. You can build this. The difference is essential craftsmen show up with a hammer and a nails and do this whole thing in 15 minutes, and it'd be perfect, of course. And it's fast because he gets paid very well to have those skills and to have honed them over a whole career. This is his shtick. He's good at it. I'm not. I'm an idiot. I don't know this stuff, but I know how to do it in a way that gets me happy. And if I can make it at the end, even if it takes 5 times longer, if I can make it square and plumb and true, then I can sheet it. And then I can, everything depends on the step before. And if you can't start out square, plumb, and true, you're not gonna get there later on. It's just gonna look like shit. It's just gonna get worse with every step. So it's important to do this right. And these are the tools, and this is the system that allows an idiot like me to be able to do it right. I can do it with construction screws and a pilot drill and a impact driver. And if I have those tools and a lot of time and a really good laser level, you can do a lot. This is not a really good laser level. This laser level it's got a touch of Parkinson's, really. Just maybe a little Bell's palsy on my laser level or something. But it'll do good enough. It's certainly good enough for this house. So this is how I'm doing it. You may have comments quite to the contrary, and that's fine. You do what works for you. But I'm going to show you the way it works for me. And as a complete idiot who knows nothing about carpentry, if I can do it, you can do it. So enjoy the show. All right, so we hit upon a cool idea, and I've done things like this in the past. There is a hole in the floor that doesn't go through the floor. Well, it goes through the floor, but it goes into a pipe. It's some kind of old vent pipe for something. I have no idea where the hell the hole comes out, but it drops under the slab of the floor, and it's some kind of air-moving thing from years gone by. We wrote a note and put it in a baggie, and then put that baggie in another baggie, and under this hole, along with a pencil that I dropped in there earlier just while laying things out, you put your little time capsule note. And I'm just going to leave it right there on top where it's easy to spot, because cool thing to remember, entropy wins every time. Someday, somebody's going to tear out this wall. Somebody's going to tear out this floor, probably. We're all dust in the end. So somebody's going to find that, probably a long time from now. And Mouse wrote a little note, signed our names on it, and gave like current state of the world, a little base, just a page of stuff. And we'll stick that down there, and that makes a really cool sound. I need a saxophone now. But it's a thing locked in the floor. Do this. It's fun. There should be something hidden inside the walls of houses other than just pee bottles. If you live above the 3rd floor, there's pee bottles in your house. That's the thing to just keep that in mind. If you have a new house, like if you live in an apartment building or something, and you live on the 3rd floor or above, and it's any kind of recent construction, the odds that you have pee bottles in your walls is absolutely fucking terrifying. Those who have ever worked in construction know what I'm talking about. You guys have fun. I'm gonna set some anchors now. All right, so that gets our anchors all down. Now, when you're doing this, Tapcons are really easy to use, and there are some common problems that you may run into with them, but overwhelmingly, if you're using Tapcons, the 2 problems you're gonna have are either they'll snap off in the wall, which means your Tapcon screw is too small for the amount of ass you're putting behind it. Or they won't go in all the way, which usually means you don't have enough ass to put behind it. For 1/4-inch Tapcons, which are by far the most common size I use, the M18 is great for those. The M12 doesn't have enough ass. So yeah, the other thing to note is on the little paper here, you'll see a spot right down here where it'll tell you, oh, we've included this absolute fucking garbage drill bit with it. Don't use that drill bit. Buy a proper Bosch or Milwaukee drill bit to go in your rotary hammer and use that. The drill bits that come with them are great for single or emergency use, but short of that, if you're doing a lot of these, you're absolutely going to need a real rotary hammer. This is a good one. This is not a big one. It's a little M12. Okay, this works great for, I don't want to know how many thousands of 1/4-inch holes I've drilled with this thing. But for the 1/4-inch bolts, you need a 3/16 bit, which is really skinny. And the way I do it, I used to vacuum the holes out and blow them out really good with duster when I had an M12 impact. Once I stepped up to the M18, I didn't have to do that anymore and they sink great. I had one, this one here is a little proud All the other ones are just flush or even subsurface a little bit. So a little bit of luck of the draw, depends on variables that you don't care about and I don't want to explain. But that's down, and you'll notice I set all this based on this joint right here in the front, because where the back is doesn't matter. The front is all we care about. This line, this surface is what we care about. And we're going to set studs along this line, but not at the back. So we don't care where the back is, and that's why I put the screws back here, because my studs are only going to go back like this far, and I don't have to worry about hitting a screw or something like that. I only use 3 of these for each board. That's plenty. I'll probably have even more screws than that up there, but up there we're going to use construction screws. So now I have my first reference point, and that's this point right here. This is what everything's going to be based off of. I have to have this point on a straight vertical line, that's a straight vertical line, up there. So it doesn't matter where the back corners end up as long as I can hit this line with that thing, because the stud's going to sit right there. If I was really cool, I'd have 2 laser levels. And I'd have one pointing this way, crossing that point right there, because this doesn't matter. This matters. And then I'd have one shooting this way at the same point, and I would know that as long as I get where the 2 lines cross up there at the right Z, because this gives me one plane of reference. This gives me like X. If I had a second one, that'd give me Y, and Z doesn't matter. Z is determined by the height of the ceiling. It's going to screw to the top. But for this application, I can probably just do it with 1 laser, which is good because I only have 1 laser. So now let's get the ceiling up. Yay! Let's do exactly all that again. Still on the line? Yep. Let go. Ah, fuck. This is gonna be a lot like work. Ah! We're not. Done. Currently, it is now 16:19 hours, and we have, instead of 3 pieces of wood in the ceiling, we have 9, because behind each of these, there's 2 other ones. Because the wall is so out of square and plumb, we had to cut bits off the back of this and bring the whole thing down about 1.5 inches, the thickness of a 2x4. It's in the right spot. We even managed to find a second laser, because I'm me, and of course I have lasers. But as far as like construction lasers, not so much. I have 1 laser level and I have 1 laser line that you have to turn to make. It's really weird, but sometimes you need a line that isn't level. Even using both lasers, it still doesn't line up quite the way I think it should, but it looks right. Like all the seams line up and everything's just tickety-boo, so I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. I think we're okay, but you have to be able to trust the laser. Remember, we started with the whole thing with the mathematical premise, and the laser says that's where it goes. And the laser said this is where it went, and this went where the laser said it goes. 114 and an 8. 114. Smack it till it feels good. 114 and an 8. $114 and an 8. We're a Canadian band! Okay. All right, we're back on day 3. We're setting studs yesterday, and every part of this takes way longer than I'm expecting. I'm comfortable with good, straight, square walls. This is weird with the curves. But today we're gonna finish putting in the studs, which at this moment are really wibbly. Like when you have a 10-foot stud, man, those things move. So we're gonna put all the studs in all the way around, which should go fast for me. And then we're gonna put in the stringers, and that's when everything really stiffens up. It's gonna be exciting figuring out how to do stringers between these, because I don't want to have completely separate panels. I wanna have it all tied together. So it's gonna be a bit of a job, but we'll get there. After that, then we get the big fun experiment of, will the wood bend to that radius? Because I haven't tested this yet. And if it doesn't, well, I'm shit out of luck at that point. But I think it will. I think it'll be fine. I believe it's gonna be all right. So more toe nailing, toe screwing. We're gonna rock that out and get these in. So let's get to work. So here's the thing I should mention, because it's something that a lot of people aren't really aware of. Take a look at this. If you're ever working with a ladder and you've got the feet of the ladder, the front feet of the ladder up against something, it's gonna suck. Because ladders like this is a fiberglass step ladder. Step ladders flex. Like this has a lot of weeble wobble to it. And because of that, because of geometry, when it flexes, it has to work that out. It's really easy to set a ladder up and have it be a little kitty wampus, and it'll want to walk. And there's videos online. People can make ladders walk and stuff. But if you're working on a ladder, have the feet just an inch is all you need away from whatever you're up against, because it's pretty common to be on a ladder and you're up near a wall or something. Have the feet an inch away, because when the ladder settles out, it wants to move forward, and if it can't, it's gonna make the ladder all weird. There's those stupid little things that I just do and don't even think about. And I figured for the home gamer out there, guys that don't work on ladders all day, that's an important thing to know. But just when you get on it, and if it doesn't sit right and you're having trouble, like if the ladder's like this and it's weird, see how that wants to go forward as it settles out? Watch, if we take the ladder and intentionally kick it over a little bit, okay, as it settles out, it's gonna walk forward until it finds its stability spot. Another way to do that is just be like one step high and just pop it back, and it'll find its happy spot. But you can see it's really easy to move that out quite a bit. And that, when it gets to its rest state, usually to get there, it has to kick forward a little bit. So useful thing to know on a ladder. When you get on one, give it a little wiggle and make sure that all 4 feet are on the floor, because it'll scare the hell out of you if you're up here and you're boom. So that happens. Call that 114 even. Real wood has curves. Right now, somebody's commenting, did you just use a $200 tool as a hammer? That's why it costs $200. That is fucking nice. On the bottom of your laser level, you'll find a little screw thread spot. This is a 1/4-20 female slot. Hole. On the bottom of your laser level, you're gonna find a little threaded hole. This is a little, usually it's a brass or a steel insert. It'll be threaded to a 1/4-20. This is the exact same threading that you'll find on the bottom of a camera. Same. So anything that's designed to hold a camera will probably hold a laser level. If you're setting up a project like this where you got a million lines and you're constantly moving a laser level, it's totally okay to grab a tripod if you happen to make videos for a living and have a million tripods laying around because that's just how you do. It's totally okay to mount your laser level on a tripod because now this is way more stable and it's a lot easier to move because you can, especially this tripod's really good for it because this tripod I can adjust to make I've got little bubble levels in the tripod. A lot of tripods have these. Sometimes you'll just have one bullseye level down here. Sometimes you'll have one on each axis. This actually has levels for all 3 axes, which is really cool. There's actually a level here as well. So you've got X, Y, and Z if you're mounting this around some screwy thing or something. Well, let's turn that on. And now, when I want to move from one line to the next, it's way easier. I can pick that line up just like that because this has a pan tilt head, and all I got to do is just pan right where I want to be. Now, parallax comes into play with this and things like that. Like, you can't get every line in a whole room from a single spot. You do have to move this around. But it's a lot easier now because when I want to move this where I want, I can just get this and be like, okay, I'm on the right plane, and now I can just spin that right around. And I've got my whole thing set up in just seconds, and that's a million times easier. So putting a laser level on a tripod works great. Putting a laser level on a tripod with a pan tilt head, is really great. And if you're super cool, get one with a fluid head. This doesn't have a fluid head on it, but if you ever see fluid head on a tripod, it just makes everything move smooth. If you remember the old cassette decks, where like cassette decks, sometimes when you hit the eject button, they go bang, and they just slam open. And then towards the end of the cassette era, you click eject and they go like that. That's the difference between a regular pan head and a fluid head. Basically they're filled with Vaseline and they just open slow. So with a fluid head, things move more smoothly and it's fluid damped. It's packed with grease. Now you know. Anything that enhances my ability to be a fussy bitch is a good time. We're losing altitude. 113 7/8.
That feel good?
Yeah, but can we take the twist out of it? 113 3/4. A skinny 113 3/4. This ain't fucking rocket science. One 13.78. A skinny 114. Or 113.78. We got studs, 38 and 76. All right, so time is 11:46 and we've got all the studs in. It actually looks pretty good. And that was the part I was concerned about, was that all of this would line up and everything be cool, but it worked out. Like, it's not perfect because we had to do so much movement up there that we're about an inch long on the bottom here, but that's okay because this is vertical. Like, we checked this we set all these with a laser level, so all the studs are perfect, even if the bottom and top plates aren't perfect. So we're perfect on top. We're absolutely divine up there, but on the bottom, we're an inch long on both sides, which is weird. I don't know why. I'm sure there's a geometric answer to it. The next step is we took the overall length and divided it in thirds, and we shot a laser line and marked a line at each one of those, and that's where we're going to put our stringers. This wall is 10 feet, so it's a little screwy. If you're doing a regular 8-foot wall, I like to put my stringers so that each cavity gets divided into 48 inches because I use a lot of rock wool insulation because I do studios and stuff, and rock wool comes in 48-inch pieces, so it just drops right in. For this, we're going into thirds because we're not even bothering to insulate this wall. I don't need to. I'm not going to gain anything by it. It's going to be a hard reflective surface no matter what I do, and I'm not worried about sound on the outside because on the other side of this is dirt, lots of it, so it doesn't really matter. So we're going to put stringers here and here. All right, guys, so it's time for the last piece, this particular stringer here. Now, these are weird because these are on angles up in there, so it's a bit of a job. So the way I do this, and your mileage may vary, you do what works for you, is I do it all with bar clamps so that I can hold things where I want it. And I don't have enough clamp for this lengthwise, so we're just going to do it the hard way, which is the short way, about like that. And I'll line that up. You got to grab the right trigger. So we get that on the line, and that'll hold it there while I finagle the other end. And this is where I don't use a nail gun, because if I had to like, there's guys that can do that, but I'm not that good. So I can be pretty good with screws though, until I shoot the fucking thing apart. So line it all up again, get it where you want it, get everything on a line, and you take your time. And it's not uncommon that I'll have to do one of these a couple times to get it just so, and that's okay. Can I have a screw, please? Probably a couple. Thank you. And we'll just get a screw there. Make sure we're all lined up and everything's good. Cool. So now that I got that, I can come over to the other end. I can take that clamp right out of there. And I'm going to drill my hole, even though this isn't where I want it yet. I'm going to drill my hole here. Because now I can just put a screw right in that. And line this up with this hand. Now see, I wouldn't want to do that with a Phillips head, because with a Phillips head, you have to really push on it. But with the Torx, you don't have to apply the straight line force that you would for a Phillips bit. So it makes it a lot easier. So we come in from the back, because I have room here in the corner, which is nice. And I'll come over and get this one. And then we'll run a couple screws in there. So here, and this is a problem you will experience every now and then, you'll run a screw in that and you'll hit the screw from the previous board. So when that happens, you drill a new hole. And for me, I'm just going to go on a totally different vector. Just come at it from a new angle. There. Now over here, I got a bit of a knot to contend with. Oh, I already drilled that. Can I have a screw, please? Thank you. And we'll put a screw in here. There. And it's solid, it's good, it's done. That is all of our framing and our stringers and everything installed and beautiful and happy. It's just good. I'm a happy guy. So that puts us at 17:59. It's 6 o'clock straight up. Perfect. And we are completely framed in. The next step tomorrow will be sheeting, and that'll be cool. So I'm excited about that. What we're going to do is we're going to put our sheeting in tomorrow. We'll start at the bottom, work our way up. We're going to start at the middle and work our way out. We're going to put the first sheet in and see where the ends land. And then wherever the ends land, I'm going to put a nailer board. We'll put in another short stud just as a nailer for joining the ends. Once we get out to the edge here, I'll flush trim it with a router, and then the extra piece, because we'll have a piece here and it's going to go up about 4 feet and down about 4 feet. So it's going to end somewhere about here. And then we'll put on this piece, flush cut it, and then the extra piece will have a mill edge, and that'll go around the other side. That's my plan. It may sound complicated, but it'll make a lot more sense when you see it. And the idea is we're just going to lay this in, center out in horizontal bands all the way up. And it's going to take about 2.5 of them because we know we have a little bit less than 10 feet of wall. So those are going to be 4 foot per thing. So it's going to be about yay. And we'll just lay it in. It'll be cool. Tune in tomorrow. We'll be back for episode 3. You guys have fun. I'm Chris Bowden. That's Mouse. That's Amy. And as always, we'll see you next time.